time. I'm just going to go through. Um, just remember, like where we're at in the class. You know, we have. Pardon my voice. It is horrible. I feel like I don't know, like that weird thing you get when you have laryngitis. But we've been talking about United States neutrality, right? And the question is, based on what you guys have seen so far and read about and attended class about, has the United States really been that neutral? And I would say probably not. Like, at least we look neutral to the rest of the world in World War II at the beginning. And I love this cartoon. Everybody, you got to copy this cartoon in your notebook. You ready? There you go. You got to draw that because it's perfect. This is perfect. This is my style of parenting, actually. If I didn't see it, didn't happen. We know something's going on, but we're not going to do anything about it. I think this really does typify what America's feeling in the 1930s. How they don't want to be involved with this war, but I don't know. If you kind of look at Uncle Sam, he's kind of looking back there and he's kind of thinking, well, it ain't what it used to be, but at some point we might have to get involved with this thing. And so, it is interesting. So we left off talking about neutrality acts, and we talked a little bit about how all those neutrality acts are there to kind of reinforce the idea that America should be neutral. Like for example, we're not gonna send people on ships that are bound for Europe. We're gonna make Europe come here to go basically drop off their stuff and also to buy their stuff or sell their stuff. Those are things that we can do to be neutral, to avoid a compromising position, in World War II. So there's more here. Let me get into some more. There's different movements sprouting up. I got to talk about these guys. The America First Committee was a group that was really committed to staying out of World War II, keeping America out of World War II. Now, I didn't say neutral, but just keeping us out of the war, actually. This was made up of a variety of people. Some of them celebrities, as you can see. Charles Lindbergh is up here. The famous Charles Lindbergh that flew the Spirit of St. Louis all the way across the Atlantic Ocean. But what they're trying to do is to make an awareness and to lobby Congress and the president, like, hey, dude, we got to stay out of World War II at all costs. This war might be crazy, it might be hurting everybody, but if there's any possible way to make us stay out, please make us stay out. We don't want to be involved with this. It is Europe's problem, okay? So there's movements afoot. There's a commitment to neutrality acts. But in the face of all that, despite all of this happening, there's going to be a lot of this. And we're going to get into some of the things Hitler does. Yes, sir. Oh, yes. Yeah, we knew that Japan was making aggressive aims in China, most definitely, and Southeast Asia. I want to make something clear. That's a good point. The United States really did, I think, very much understand that all of this was going on. Here's the problem, though. Here's the problem. You remember at the end of the video on Monday, the United States military was like 200,000 people. Okay? Shoot, even if we wanted to take care of these problems, there is no possible way in God's green earth that we could even stop these nations if we wanted. We just couldn't do it anyway. I wonder, the more I study this stuff, if that is a factor. And I'm thinking that it had to have been, because you have to think that our policymakers, guys, our congressmen and our president at that time, these guys were not knuckleheads, okay? They knew exactly what was going on, I think. It's just, were we strong enough to even take a position? And obviously not. Now, I'm making a huge jump there. I'm putting some words in some people's mouths, but I don't think that the leaders of the country, um, I don't think the leaders of the country were necessarily, like they had all kinds of motives for trying to stay neutral. I think one of them, again, being the fact that we were so far behind militarily, and we were just not going to be able to compete. Now, okay, what's going on? Fascist aggression all over the place. This is kind of a recap of what happened, and we talked about on Monday. Just a little bit about Hitler. 1933, Hitler takes over the German Reichstag, which is their government. The Nazis win a huge majority of seats. And basically by 1935, what he has done is he starts ignoring what the Treaty of Versailles says. The Treaty of Versailles in 1919 said that Germany couldn't have certain things. They couldn't have a certain amount of military. Hitler says, forget that. I'm going to rearm. Now, question is, what does America do about this? Is America thinking that this is a huge problem? I mean, leaders come into power all the time. Benito Mussolini in Italy is attacking Ethiopia to try to regain that colony. Nations do this kind of stuff. Does the United States feel it's necessary to intervene or even care? Of course, we have a military that's very small, and also we have a population that is very much, what's the I word at that point? Oh yeah, see, you're catching on, young Jedis. Absolutely. We are isolationists to the core. So this is going on. Yeah, we know Japan's doing their thing in Asia too, but yeah, what are you going to do? I mean, you've got the Great Depression too to deal with, right? And so the New Deal you've got to let happen. So, and of course, America's passed their first Neutrality Act by the mid 1930s. After that, Hitler does even more. We've got German troops going into the neighboring area of Germany, the boundary of Germany and France. It's a little area called the Rhineland, which alarms most Europeans, but again, the United States is pretty much standing by. And frankly, Britain and France are pretty much standing by because they're in no position to do anything. In Spain, which is kind of interesting, there's a sort of a civil war going on there. And what you have in Spain is the forces of fascism led by a guy named General Francisco Franco, and he is supported primarily by the Nazis and the Italians. Okay, so it's like a big fascism party, I guess you could say. So all that's going on. There are some Americans that are going to fight in Spain, to fight against fascism. Why are they going to Spain? They're called the Lincoln Brigade, which is kind of weird. Why are they going? They are going because, hey, it's the Depression. Anything's better than maybe staying at home, and almost 2,000 Americans go and fight in Spain, which is kind of an untold story about the early parts of World War II. But this thing is interesting in Spain. We've got kind of a dress rehearsal for World War II. We've got the fascists on one side, and we've got the anti-fascists on the other. Who are the anti-fascists? And this is crazy. We've got the communists, right? Like Joseph Stalin and the Russians are supporting people to fight against fascism in Spain. And also the United States has some troops there. So it is kind of interesting that that's going on beforehand. In the end, the fascists win. Spain becomes a fascist state. And do you guys understand what fascism is? If you don't, here it is. Fascism is like basically extreme glorification of the military. Okay? Not just that, but wanting to return to greatness of the past. And you look at the Nazis, that's what they're doing. They are trying to recapture what makes Germany great. That's what Mussolini's doing in Italy. He's trying to recapture the glory of the Roman Empire to make a new empire. You could even say that's what the Japanese are trying to do too. They're trying to just gain more power, more land, more resources and stuff. Fascism is full of symbols. The Nazi symbol is a very interesting symbol. Does anybody know where that symbol comes from? Do you know? Go ahead. You're exactly right. It's an ancient Sanskrit word from India meaning strength or well-being, whatever you want, like strength or well-being. It has absolutely nothing to do with what you think it does. Symbols change over time, right? And they're used for different things. That Nazi symbol, the swastika, that's an ancient, like you said, an Indian symbol. Not like Native American Indian, I'm talking, Indian, okay? It's kind of like the cross. The cross is the symbol of Christianity today, but yet back in the day, what was the cross used for? Executions. That was supposed to be not a quick way to die, but a horrible way to die. So the meaning of symbols change over time. I see people with like little crosses hanging from their necks, and I'm thinking, wow, you guys must be into the death penalty. No, I'm just like, no, maybe you are. I don't know you personally, but okay. So fascism again is an extreme devotion to your country, to the nation, glorifying the military, trying to go back to the past. And Hitler's Germany is full of all this kind of stuff. Like, let's go back to the third. Let's create a third Reich. A Reich is a kingdom. You've got the First Reich and early on in history, the Second Reich in sort of the Middle Ages, and getting on into the 1800s, and now you've got the Third Reich. So fascism is that ideology, and it's totally undemocratic. It's totalitarian in nature. That's another fun word. Totalitarianism means total control of the people and of the government by the government. And the Nazis are so effective at using propaganda and creating myths and creating stories to make people believe things that just aren't true. Yeah, there's an old saying, like if you say things loud enough and long enough, people will start to believe it, right? It changes your mind. Like if all we hear is a message by the government and that's what they want us to hear, we'll start repeating it. You know what I mean? Like you just will. It's just crazy. Like it's like when you listen to a song on the radio and it keeps coming on. Like everywhere you go, you can't get away from it. It just infects your mind. It's like you can't do anything about it. It's like that song, All About That Bass. Like seriously, it's just all up in my head all the time. I had a bad dream on Saturday night. It's like, geez, what's going on, man? I can only imagine growing up in Hitler's Germany if they keep telling you Jews are the devil, Jews are the devil, Jews are the devil, like all, you know what I'm saying? You'll start repeating it. All right, I digressed. I'm sorry. So Hitler continues his, excuse me, Hitler continues his quest for power by marching into Austria without firing a shot. That's what's called the Anschluss, or in German, that means union. Austria is, of course, a German-speaking country. And at that same time, shortly after that, we have the Pact, the Rome-Berlin-Tokyo Pact, also called the Axis, where there's going to be an alliance of like-minded nations.